Hey yo, and what is up, gang? Thank you for checking out Sledgehammer TV tonight. It was the final show before this Sunday's TLC. The go home show for SmackDown was nothing more than another suckdown because they just decided to hit the repeat button and call it a day. The WWE is phoning in the end of the year, and who can blame them? It's been a disaster. Might as well finish it off with a couple of dumpster fires for good measure. And we're going to talk about it all right here and right now. My name is Nick Nightmare. You are watching the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show's SmackDown review and reaction show. Let's do it. So it is of popular opinion, as of most of the wrestling fans in the world, that Roman Reigns has finally gotten over. He's finally an enjoyable character, and they hit something here that we can actually tap into and enjoy for once in professional wrestling. However, the WWE, seeing this, does what they always do and decide, well, we got something that works. Let's just stick with it and do it over and over and over again. And while Roman Reigns' promo ability is fantastic, the character's been doing very well, it is pretty much just rinse and repeat with this guy over and over again. No matter who it is across the ring from him, it's the same story. We still have the Jey Uso factor that factors in pretty heavily on tonight's episode of SmackDown, and all at the expense of Kevin Owens, who was thrown into this feud with Roman Reigns because the WWE has failed to build up any true main event contenders for the Tribal Chief to take on. But when every single week we have to see the same scenario of Kevin Owens saying something about Roman, Roman saying something about Kevin Owens, Jey Uso gets involved and beats the snot out of Kevin Owens, and then they have the gall to actually do it twice on the same episode like we got to see tonight. It just starts to wear thin, and you don't have any reason to care because this is one of the most predictable matches of all time that we are going to see. No matter how you try to build it up, no matter how you try to make Kevin Owens look invincible and look powerful by what you try to accomplish tonight, we all know there is no way Roman Reigns is losing that championship. And while I appreciate the fact that they have an opponent at all for Roman Reigns, being that they didn't build anybody up properly alongside him to be a proper rival, Kevin Owens is a great choice, and I'm happy to see KO back in main events and back getting a lot of TV time, but he's pretty much just a sacrificial lamb being put up against the Universal Champion. That's just one of the many mistakes on this night. The biggest mistake, however, comes in the form of what they did to the EST of WWE, Bianca Belair, tonight. I was actually a fan of the work that she's been doing with Bayley over the last couple of weeks. Some of the segments were hit and miss, but they've been doing a good job establishing the fact that they don't like each other. You know, you got Bianca Belair calling Bayley dusty. Bayley's calling her out on social media and on SmackDown at times, and it's been pretty interesting up until this point, because you knew this was going to happen eventually. They were going to shit the bed and ruin it, because after all, Bianca Belair is from NXT, and we can't have an NXT star actually grow organically and build any momentum and get some wins under their belt before they are just fed to the main talent, I guess, if you want to call, the established talent on the brand, like we seen tonight. This was not the way to do this. It's very easy. I don't understand how they have lost sight on how to book professional wrestling. All they had to do with Bianca and Bayley was have Bianca Belair win this match. She didn't have to beat Bayley clean. All she had to do was win. And there are 1,000,001 scenarios you could throw at the wall to make that happen without anybody damaging their reputation. Bayley should have just walked out. They have a banger of a match. They had a pretty decent match tonight, Bianca Belair is the most athletically gifted female on the roster, and she proved that tonight. She was graceful in the ring. She was flipping all over the place. Looked like she had Bayley's number on a couple of occasions. Bayley sold like magic for her, man. She did an excellent job. It was a very good matchup until Bayley wins, and I don't care that she raked the eyes to cause some sort of momentary distraction. Raking the eyes causes somebody to lose? No, that's not how you go about this. Bayley should have got frustrated with the fact that she couldn't beat Bianca Belair and maybe walk out. Get herself counted out. I don't need this. That's what a shit heel would do. That's what she is. She's a crooked ass slimy heel, and that's one of the things she could have done to avoid the scenario we got tonight. You could have had her get disqualified. You could have done a million things other than have the up-and-coming woman who is supposed to be being pushed, being booked to be the next superstar in the women's division, possibly being groomed to be a future women's champion, and have her lose on a brand that she hasn't lost on yet. Why can't we have her just maintain momentum? Why can't we have a superstar come up and just get win after win after win, showing how much of a badass they are, earning themselves a shot at the championship and getting that shot at the championship? I don't mind this little side story that they got going on with Bayley and Banks. I'm sorry, with Bayley and Belair, because it's a great way to set her up for Sasha Banks. But when you take into account the fact that Bayley hasn't won a match in like her last 12 matches. I don't even remember the last time Bayley won until tonight, and they could have factored that into a much better story. If you would have had Bianca Belair pin Bayley tonight clean, she could have been telling the story of somebody on a losing streak, getting frustrated, and now she wants her vengeance. She's a heel. She's going to be pissed off that she lost, which would set up a bunch of rematches with Bianca Belair. You could have done that. But now, already, before she could even get going, Bianca Belair's shoulders have been pinned to the mat by Bayley practically before the feud has even begun. You're killing her momentum. It's just not coming off right. And I don't appreciate it. Once upon a time when wrestling was good, they used to do things like have the people that they want you to like win matches. A lot. Before they would put them in high-profile positions so that you know they're a serious contender. We don't get that. Bianca Belair's been on the brand, what? Since the brand split? What has it been, like 2 months? Whatever it's been? And she's already losing on SmackDown. She should have been undefeated. Were you not listening when she was in NXT? That whole fucking run she had, which made her who she is today. Undefeated. EST. That whole shit, it's all gone. It's gone. You can't tap into that anymore. And that was magic. That helps make her character even greater than it was back. And I don't understand it. I do not understand the logic behind it. They've simply lost sight of how to properly book professional wrestling. Just like with the tag team championship match tonight, we had the SmackDown tag team champions going up against Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode. Maybe, because it's Christmas time and their name together is Rudolph. We went through this when they were first formed, but now it's Christmas time, so it's a good time to bring it back up. And so they went up against Rudolph, the two red-nosed tag team, and the Street Profits defeated Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode, getting their win back because, Roode and Ziggler, they got this shot by beating the champions. But now when the titles are on the line, they did not beat the champions. Now this was a semi-decent tag team match, but when the finish rolls around, and you got the Street Profits defeating the heel tag team of Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode by holding the tights, literally pulling the tights and cheating to win, you're doing things backwards. They're the good guys. They're supposed to win at all costs by not breaking the rules, right? And Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode, they're the dirty heels. But they lost because the good guys cheated. Now, I know Eddie Guerrero was a good guy and he did the whole lie, cheat, and steal thing, but that was his gimmick. This isn't their gimmick. They're not cheaters. They're not Crime Time. What are they? Are they good? Are they bad? Like, are they a joke? Are they not? But they are still the tag team champions after tonight, and we'll probably get some sort of a stupidly booked rematch on this Sunday's TLC pay-per-view. 50-50 booking rears its ugly head almost on a weekly basis in the WWE. And I don't understand it. I mean, well, at least we could be grateful that the Street Profits won, I guess, because who wants to see Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode be the champions of a dead division? They are practically the only two tag teams, just like we're going through on Monday Night Raw. It's the same situation, and it's boring. It seems unimportant and repetitive, and I just don't care. And neither should you. And that's because they don't care. It's as clear as day when you watch a show like this, and we have to have another match, which is a repeat from last week. The Riot Squad going up against Billie Kay and a new partner this week. Instead of Natalya, she traded down and got Tamina. Because I guess it didn't work out with Natty. They had the miscommunication. They lost to the Riot Squad. So now the Riot Squad are effectively in a feud with one person. They're in a feud with Billie Kay, who now tonight brings out Tamina as her tag team partner, and the same kind of a shitty match ensued. While it's good, once again, to see the Riot Squad getting some wins, what good is it when the women's tag team champions are on Raw, and it seems like they're only on Raw, they don't ever come to SmackDown, and you're not properly building up the Riot Squad because they're effectively, every week, just beating Billie Kay, which is not going to prove their worth of being champions. And once again, just like with the men, there are no female tag teams here. So what are we going to do? We're going to keep getting this nonsense. Who's Billie Kay going to team up with next week? It's not going to be Peyton Royce. As much as I disliked the iconic duo, I would take that over what they're doing right now, because at least that would make sense. At least they would be an established tag team, and you got Peyton Royce in a tag team with Lacey Evans on Raw, and you got Billie Kay tag team of the week with somebody new every week on SmackDown. It makes you wonder, if this was your intention with these two girls, why break them up in the first place? Doesn't make sense to me. Once again, uninteresting. It was a terrible match to boot. The only good thing about it was the fact that the Riot Squad gets another win, just so that they actually look like they belong in the WWE. They had a pretty impressive maneuver as a finisher. I thought it was kind of cool. But other than that, this was trash. You know what else was trash? Carmella's champagne toast. It's obvious to me, and should be obvious to every one of you guys, that Carmella's watching AEW. Or somebody in creative's watching AEW, and they're taking all of the stuff that they're seeing in AEW, and they're saying, hey, Carm, do this. Do this. She's got this new untouchable gimmick, which seems about exactly the same as her old gimmick. It also seems the same as the shit we used to see with Emelina and Eva Marie. Vince has a hard-on for these kind of glamorous characters, and now she's untouchable. Why? Why is she untouchable? Because she's dating Corey Graves? What makes her so untouchable? Because she hasn't been on TV or in the ring for the last 6 months, and then she comes back, and now all of a sudden she's getting a championship match for absolutely no reason, and all we're getting in return is AEW ripoff segments. So Carmella comes out tonight. She's all dressed fancy. She does her little wannabe Kenny Omega entrance with the shadow behind the curtain, and then she comes out, and first of all, that shadow looks weird. Like, I don't even think it looks sexy. It looks like a deformed fucking alien being in the back. It looks like the Fly is back there. Doesn't even look like a fucking human woman. The whatever angle they got the light on to cast that shadow, it's not very flattering. Only to reveal Carmella at the end. And then she comes down there, and she's with her little buddy, R-False, the fake R-Truth. Because, you know, it was good. We liked her with R-Truth, so let's do something similar but different and worse somehow. Somehow worse. This nameless sommelier, fucking R-Truth look-alike wannabe, is in the ring, and they got champagne. They got champagne. They're paying back to last week where she smashed Sasha Banks in the back with a bottle of champagne. And you know what? This week she decided she was going to sing a Christmas song and call it The Bubbly. She literally called champagne The Bubbly. Where have we heard that shit before? Are you purposely really trying to put that out there and say that you're not ripping it out? Nobody calls champagne bubbly anymore, really, and it's something brought back to the forefront by Chris Jericho, and she's practically copying everything about his presentation as Le Champion. I'm not interested. I don't care. And the fact is, we got a promo segment here this week. Last week we had a match which ended with the champagne to the back smash on Sasha Banks. This week we get a really overly long promo. I think somebody maybe made a bet with Carmella in the back. They're like, hey, how many times can you say the word Sasha Banks in the next 9 minutes? Let's find out. Go out there and say her name 100 times at the very least. But in between the times you say her name, don't say anything worthwhile because nobody really cares. That's what I feel like her notes were for her fucking promo tonight. It was terrible. It was terrible. And all she apparently said that she took a sip of some wine that was cheap and it didn't taste right and whatever, and she said it tasted like Sasha Banks. And I'm sitting there going, isn't this a family show? How does she know what Sasha Banks tastes like? Of course, that's where my stupid, disgusting mind goes. But anyway, I digress. She's out there. She's taking shots at Sasha. And Sasha Banks' music hits. She comes out once again looking like $1,000,000, wearing leather, all studded out. And she went to go beat the snot out of Carmella, only to be confronted by our false, our fake, the R-Truth doppelganger sommelier. Beat the shit out of him. And then ended up getting a wine bottle, champagne bottle, smashed across her back. Once again, the same exact thing that happened last week. Leaving Sasha Banks in the middle of the ring, soaked in the bubbly, leading into their championship match this Sunday. And if Sasha Banks loses, you can all blame Snoop Dogg. And that's all I got to say about that. We also had Otis with Chad Gable, continuing on their very strange story. This is something we called kind of last week, but we called it and we were incorrect because I was of the mind that we were going to see Chad Gable with this Alpha Academy thing going on with Otis, and he was going to continue to push him and be his trainer, and when Otis would have a match, just as Otis was about to get the win, and it seems like he was going to win the match, Chad Gable would do something or call for something that would end up having Otis not be victorious in the end. But they went off once again. They went off on a tangent tonight because for some reason they felt it necessary to have Otis defeat Shinsuke Nakamura clean despite Chad Gable being a distraction to Otis and making him stop the caterpillar almost in mid-move. You almost felt like, well, here it is. Shinsuke's going to come out and come out of this and get the win right here. But no. Otis still keeps Nakamura in control, ends up executing a Vader bomb and getting the pin for the win. Remember when Shinsuke Nakamura was awesome? Remember the way the crowd used to sing his entrance? Remember how over he was in 2018? He's probably counting the days till this contract is over so he could get the fuck out of here and go back to New Japan. He probably doesn't even want to go to AEW. American wrestling has been ruined for him by the McMahon family and the WWE. I guarantee you, Shinsuke is going back to New Japan when all is said and done. Then we had the one segment on the evening that I thought was tolerable and bearable, and that is strictly due to the talents of both Sami Zayn and Big E. Sami Zayn had the Sammy Awards tonight. Before the Sammy Awards officially started, they showed him backstage with his trophies and a producer, and he was telling the producer, don't fuck this up, pretty much, and he wanted him to shine the statues and make sure everything is perfect. We got to make everything great. He had this weird purple suit on. He had his hair all done nice. Sami Zayn looking pretty slick. Nice and presentable Sami Zayn. He's going to be on an awards show after all. So he has the Slammy Awards. He goes out to start the proceedings, but Big E decides to show up, buy the trophies once Sami Zayn walks away. Big E, too, is all dressed to the nines. He's got a little Pee Wee Herman bow tie on. He's got his little suspendies on. Looking sharp himself, Mr. Big E. And obviously he starts giggling. He's up to some no good. We were going to find out what that was during the Sammy Awards. So Sammy gave himself 2 awards, which you all saw coming. He was supposed to get 3. But things went a little bit awry. The first award was for the comeback of the year, where he mentioned many possible nominees, including Edge and Roman Reigns. But at the end of the day, the winner here, and the Sammy goes to Sami Zayn. Obviously. He then was very gracious. He's like, oh, I'm the host of this show. I didn't expect to win. I'm not really prepared. Let's just keep this show rolling and moving on. He then announced the next award is for the match of the year, which ended up going to the ladder match that he just had with AJ Styles and Jeff Hardy at the Clash of Champions to win the Intercontinental Championship. And I will have to say that was probably one of the better matches the WWE produced all year, so I'm not in too much of a disagreement here with his selection, but the award goes, to Sami Zayn. The final award goes for Superstar of the Year. And when Sami Zayn read the card, he was so shocked. Like, if you opened it up and you knew your name was supposed to be there and somebody else's name was on the card, why would you read it? Because if you don't read it, it didn't happen, nobody heard it, and nothing could you could have just put it in your pocket and been like, the winner is me, Sami Zayn. But then the great comedy of Big E would not have happened. And while this was a little silly, it was entertaining. At the very least, you kind of knew it was coming. Big E, the Sammy goes to Big E. He comes out and they're kind of pushing each other off and away from the podium. Big E's trying to give his speech. Sammy's trying to stop him. And then finally, Big E slammed Sami Zayn on the table, threw him down the ramp. He thanked the fans, celebrated his Sammy Award, and that was the end of that. That's how they decided to build the Intercontinental Championship matchup, which is a little bit of a poop hammer moment. That's how they wanted to hang their hats, because this has almost had no build at all. So, I mean, the little bit you have to appreciate, and it was at the very least entertaining. We didn't have to see physicality between them as far as like a match was concerned, so it should be interesting to see this championship matchup this Sunday. One of the only matches I'm kind of looking forward to seeing is this one, because if they give the belt to Big E, I'll be totally fine with it, and Sami Zayn is one of the best workers in the business. It's going to be a great match. We talked about Bayley defeating Bianca Belair. I don't really want to talk about it again. But what we haven't talked about too much is the Tribal Chief and Jey Uso and Paul Heyman and Kevin Owens. We did open with a little bit on that, but we didn't really get into it. So this is what happened at the start of the show, which was almost identical to the end of the show, minus all the hardware. Kevin Owens and had a face-to-face almost with Paul Heyman, technically. Paul Heyman was up on the Titantron. Paul Heyman's calling Kevin Owens a martyr because Kevin Owens isn't taking all of the warnings. He probably has a death wish, and he's going to martyr himself. He's not a masochist. He's going to be a martyr for the WWE Championship. And the back and forth between he and Kevin Owens was pretty much unnecessary. I hate Paul Heyman with Roman Reigns. I think he could do this whole thing that he's doing with his family without the involvement of Paul Heyman. Just kind of muddies the waters. We hear the same old shtick, and even Paul was like, you know how this goes. Roman does this on his time, not on your time, yada, yada, yada. So Kevin Owens says, well, Roman don't want to come to me, I'm going to come to Roman. Typical pro wrestling trope, something that happens all the time. But here's where they screw this up, and here's where they make things wacky. Kevin Owens makes it to the door of Roman Reigns' dressing room, which outside has like a 40-inch flat screen TV for some reason. Outside the door, in the middle of the hallway, for absolutely nobody. Apparently, it was specifically put there for Kevin Owens, because he's the only one that got to use it. So Kevin Owens is at Roman Reigns' door. He's banging on it. Nobody's answering. And then all of a sudden, Roman's music hits. Roman's on his way to the ring with Paul Heyman. He then stands there and watches Roman deliver a promo on that screen in the back. Was it like a mesmerizing screen that froze Kevin Owens in place, that he couldn't realize, hey, the guy that I just came back here to beat the shit out of is back out in the ring. Maybe I should go out there. No, I'm going to stand here and I'm going to watch this screen. Awkwardly, on this weird angle. Are you kidding me? They made him look like a jackass right there. He was so gung-ho on getting Roman Reigns. And how did they not pass each other? Right? There's only one way into the arena and out of the arena. And you're going to pass, right? You want me to suspend my belief so that I don't know that this happens? I'm sorry. It's just not something that I'm capable of doing. And it was just ridiculous. It was ridiculous. And this led to Kevin Owens getting jumped by Jey Uso when he finally decided, hey, let me go back out there and beat his ass, because that's why I'm back here in the first place watching this fancy-ass expensive TV. And he got laid out for his troubles. And then they walked off. Roman and Jey and Paul, victorious, so to speak, leaving Kevin Owens in a heap. And that's exactly what happened at the end of the show. Minus all of the Paul Heyman, Kevin Owens back and forth, we had Roman Reigns come out with Paul Heyman and Jey Uso. He doesn't understand why Kevin Owens keeps messing up this opportunity to be safe, and why he keeps pushing him, and why he wants this fight with Roman Reigns. And of course, he would be confronted by Kevin Owens, who came out this time because I guess he was done watching the TV again at the end of the show. They started to brawl. Next thing you know, Kevin Owens is buried underneath the rubble of a table that he was barely smashed through by Jey Uso. They barely pulled this move off. It didn't look very safe. It looked a little bit botched, but I understand where they were going with it. I understand where they were going with all of this. They buried him underneath broken pieces of table. They threw ladders. They threw chairs. They just absolutely obliterated him, leaving him in a big giant mess of hardware in the middle of the ring where you thought the show was going to be over. Roman and Jey go to the back. They're going to have that fucking interview in the gorilla position, which is something that's got to go. I don't like it. It's hard to hear them there because the music is fucking blaring and when it's playing. And that's the gorilla position. There shouldn't be anything going on there, right? It's a sacred spot where a wrestler goes before his match. You get into the headspace, and then after the match, you get to come down. But no, now you got Kayla Braxton and her freckles standing there in the back, shoving microphones in your face as you're getting ready to do your thing, or when you're coming back from getting your ass beat or beating some ass. It's just, it feels awkward. It feels wrong, and half the time, especially when the music is playing in the arena, you can't even hear what anybody is saying. It's a thing that they're doing now that just has to leave the show. It's unnecessary. We don't need it. But while he's back there in the gorilla position, once again, another fancy TV's just kind of fucking sitting there, and he sees Kevin Owens moving from underneath the rubble. And then Kevin Owens would grab a microphone and said he is going to, and promises the fans that he is going to win the Universal title on Sunday, or die trying. Definitely ramping up the drama factor with that line. We all know Kevin Owens is not walking out of there with the championship this Sunday. Roman and Jey and Paul seemed pretty miffed by this and just walked away from the screen. And that was your go-home show for TLC this Sunday. There's nothing to be excited about. There's no reason for you to care. There's no reason for anybody to care. There's not even a good reason I can give you to watch this show. I may personally be looking forward to Piggy and Sami Zayn. Did I say Piggy or Biggie? I don't know. My B's and my P's sometimes sound the same. It's something that just fucking happens when you're living in New York City. I'm sorry. But Biggie versus Sammy is going to be the sleeper match of the night, most likely. I'm looking forward to it. I hope that it's as good as I'm expecting and that they don't just squash Sammy. If they give these guys time to work, should be a pretty interesting matchup. Reigns and Owens are going to kill it. They're going to kill it. They're going to give us a hell of a match. We just know from start to finish that Roman Reigns is going to win. It's only a matter of how and what the hell Kevin Owens is about to do to himself to prove just how much he wants that Universal Championship. Has me a little bit afraid for his health and well-being. Hopefully, he doesn't do anything too crazy. But, hey, that's about it. Other than that, you have nothing to tune into TLC for. You don't have to watch it. All you have to do is come back here when the show's over to get your official hammering in so we could tell you guys everything that is wrong with that piece of shit pay-per-view, just like we do every single time WWE forces us to sit through garbage shows. Just like we got tonight, most likely what we're going to get Sunday for the last time in 2020. And if anybody else, I thought maybe I dreamt this. Did anybody else see Drew McIntyre Claymore kick the year 2020 and then have the year 2021 come out and the WWE wished us a happy new year a full week before New Year's time? They didn't say Merry Christmas, they didn't say Happy Holidays, but they said Happy New Year already? Are they really that anxious to get out of 2020? I mean, I know I am. I don't know if I dreamt that or if it actually happened. If it did, and you've seen it too, let me know what you thought about it and the rest of this stinking show down in the comments below. As always, if you had a great time here with us today, make sure you smash that like button so it really helps out the channel and gets us out there to more viewers so we could gain more and more subscribers, which is now where I ask you to be one if you aren't one already. Smash that subscribe button and join the coolest wrestling faction in all of the YouTube wrestling community, the Sledgeheads of Sledgehammer TV, where we bring the hammer down on the WWE one show at a time. You could join us. All you got to do, smash that subscribe button. The like and the share button, also very much appreciated. My name is Nick Nightmare. This is the team, Thor the Sledgehammer, the official Sledgehammer of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show. His tag team partner, the World Heavyweight Champion of all the microphones in all the world, Mr. Blue, the Snowball. The most important member of the team, as always, each and every one of you. If you missed the Raw review or anything else we put up this month, they will be linked in the annotations right around here somewhere. That, my friends, is going to do it. We are out of here, and we will see you Sunday night for TLC, right here on your new favorite wrestling show, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, only on Sledgehammer TV, right here on YouTube.com. Boom.